Ever been listening to your favorite podcast and think, hey, I want to start my own? Then you need Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, everyone's favorite word free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The saying, when it rains, it pours, is proven to be true when it comes to Keece. With his father committing suicide along with Paris's disappearance, he is at his wits' end. The thought of losing the two people that he loves the most almost breaks him. But Keece is determined to find Paris, and when he does, she speaks the unthinkable and ends their relationship. Keece is yet again heartbroken, but he refuses to beg. So he prepares to move on. Paris was saddened by her recent breakup with Keece until Chase came along. He's everything that Keece is not, and she toys with the idea of actually moving on. But when Chase proves to be everything that he claimed he wasn't, Paris is put in a dangerous situation, Lord forgive me, that could end up costing her her freedom. Can Paris escape the dangers that await her? Will Keece be able to rescue her in time and mend their damaged relationship? Follow Keece and Paris on their tumultuous journey through love, deceit, and forgiveness in this intense drama. Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Bibliophile's Bookcase. I'm your host, Erica the Bibliophile. And this week we are finishing up Keece and Paris, a Milwaukee love story. Now, if you remember from last week, I told you that this story is combined of part 2 and 3 from her previous work. Like, these are re-releases. But anywho, let's jump right into it. So where we left off with the last book, Keece got a phone call from one of his brothers saying that their dad committed suicide. But come to find out, he actually didn't. They got him to the hospital in time, and they were able to, I believe, pump his stomach. And he goes looking for Paris because, after she thought she found him cheating, she got her stuff and she left. Which I'm like, that nigga had to be sleeping pretty hard because she packed up her shit, like got all her stuff out and left. And he goes to her condo, knocking on the door, barging in, looking for a man inside of the house. Like, if I find somebody here, I'm fucking you up. And she's like, that's not even on my mind right now. So I don't know what the fuck you talking about. Get out my house. And he's trying to put up a fight. He's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. You gonna listen to me. And she's just not trying to hear it. And she tells him that she doesn't love him, don't want to be with somebody like him, and he needs to leave. And he stopped like, oh, you dead ass? For real? All right, bet. And so he walks away, and these two, they just start moving on with their lives little by little. Paris meets a new guy. His name is Chase, and she's liking him. Like, they're having conversation. And when she goes to his house, he attacks her, and Lord, I don't know what it is about these type of books, but somebody is always getting assaulted. I gotta put that at the beginning. So sorry. Trigger warning before I say it though. When she goes to hang out with this guy who she thought she knew, he sexually assaults her and then tells her that she's basically going to be sold into sex trafficking. And she's like, no, how much is it going to cost? Like, I'll pay for myself. Don't do this to me. And he tells her $20,000. So she's like, okay, in the morning, we can go to the bank and I'll take it out. Just please do not do this to me. And he agrees. So in the morning, they go to her bank and he has a gun and he's standing like right next to her saying, don't try no funny shit, because the moment you do, like I'm gonna hurt you and anybody close to you, like all that type of stuff. So she has to fill out a slip, in the bank. And when she takes it over to one of the teller knows her. Like I said, this is Paris's bank, so she comes in there all the time. So the lady is like trying to drum up conversation, and while she's looking at the slip, she sees the note that Paris wrote in the corner saying, he's trying to kidnap me, please help me, like you have to help me. And so she looks up, and I was so thankful that she didn't say anything. She went right along with it. And she was like, well, ma'am, since this is such a large withdrawal, you have to come in the back and we'll give you some type of bag or some shit like that. So they start walking, and Chase is like real close behind her. And the lady turns around and is like, I'm sorry, sir, but only account holders are allowed back here. Like, you cannot go with her. And so he looks between the two women and just says, okay. I'm like, fool, you should have known the moment you got away from her and she was not in your eyesight, and you don't have anything like holding her to do exactly what you said, because it ain't like you got any of her family or can do anything to anybody else. But before she does go back there, he does try to threaten her, like, don't fuck with me, Paris. And it's like, as soon as that door closed, the lady is like, oh my God, what happened? And so Paris takes off her glasses, and she has a black eye. Like, he really assaulted her, and it was terrible. Um, and she's like, he's trying to sell me off and extort money from me. Like, please call the police. I cannot leave out of here with him. And the lady's like, okay, yep, I'm gonna get my manager. We're gonna call the cops, and we have security out there, so they cannot let him leave. And so he manages to get away anyway. Like, he has a fight with the security guard and runs off. And one of the another patron like runs out the door trying to get his license plate, but the way that nigga jumped in his car and like skirt off, they weren't able to get anything. And she goes to the police, makes a statement. She goes to the hospital, gets a rape kit done, and then she's trying to go back on Facebook. Like, everything is a fake. His name is not even his name. Where he said he was staying is not where he was staying. And the Facebook profile that he had up has now disappeared. So she has no trace of how to find this man at all. But she calls her mother. Her mother comes up to the hospital. So does Kamara. And she has Amy, who is her like secretary, who works with her at her law office, because she owns the building like it's her office. um like, they're up there by her side, and she says, like, I can't go back to my place because he knows where I stay and I just don't want to be there. So can you call Cayenne and see if he'll give me a condo or let me rent out a condo or something like that. So when Cayenne gets the call, he comes back in the room because he has stepped out to take the call. And he comes back in the room and says, that was Kamara asking me to give Paris one of the condos, and she's at the hospital. So Keece is checking his phone to see if she would have called him or said anything to him. And even with them not being together, he's like, he still loves her. He still cares about her. So to hear that something happened to her, he's upset about it. And so he tries to call her, but she doesn't answer. And so he's like, fuck it, I'm going with you then. We finna meet up with them. So when they all show up together, Keece sees her face, and that nigga is pissed. He's like, who the fuck did this to you? Why the fuck you ain't call me? Why you ain't say nothing to me? And I get it. Like, I see that's the only way that he could think to show his emotions, but it's like, nigga, I was just attacked. Do you really think that anger and seeing how riled up you are is something I would want to see right now? And once again, it's like her trying to calm him down and be there for him when it's like, nigga, this ain't about you right now. This is about me. And she tells him, like, let the police handle it. I really don't want to talk about it. Man, I ain't trying to hear all that shit. Who the fuck? Da, da, da. And it's like, Keece, now is not the fucking time. My guy. Like, go on the fuck on somewhere. And so he tells her, you don't need to be staying here by yourself because you don't know if this guy is still following you because you don't have any information on him, but he basically has all of your information. And that's another scary thing. Like dating somebody and you the real you. Like you keeping it 100 with this motherfucker. And everything they told you is a lie. Like the Twitter swindler. I can't even say it right. The nigga who lied on Twitter after Valentine's Day, and then the actual Tinder swindler. It's just like y'all niggas just be out here lying, fam. And how Anna lied. I gotta finish that show. I think I fell asleep on episode 3 because I had watched it once. Well, that's a lie. I let it play one time, and I kept looking up at the TV, and I was like, man, what the fuck is this? And now, like, I'm really watching it and getting into it. Like, niggas just be out here lying, fam. Anyway, sorry. So they get kind of loud. So her mom comes in and is like, what's going on in here? And Keece convinces her mom, like, she don't need to be staying here by herself. She can move back in with me and, like, I'll look after her. And parents know that he's dealing with another chick right now. She's like, don't you got a girlfriend? Don't you think that would be inappropriate for me to be in your house? And he like, is that really what you worried about right now? And she not my motherfucking girlfriend. Don't worry about it. You come in with me. And basically that's that. So she moves back in with him. Like she's not going to work right now because he knows where she works. Like he knows everything. That sucks. And so, but he's still going on about his life until I think it was like a month after. Then she's like, okay, I can't just sit in his house no more. Like he's not gonna have this type of control over me. I'm going back to work. And he being Keece, he's like, I ain't really feeling that. Like it ain't, you shouldn't go. Like you could just stay at home, and just get some rest. You ain't got to rush back to work. But she's actually a lawyer. Like she has cases going on right now. And there's a particular guy who don't want nobody but her handling his case. So she's like, yeah, actually, I do need to get back to work. He's like, man, fuck whoever that is. Tell that motherfucker find another lawyer then. And he can go on about his motherfucking business. You're not ready to go back to work yet. It's like, no, nigga, you're not ready for me to go back to work yet. I'm trying to take the steps to put this behind me. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So he tells her, I did think this was sweet though. He's like, I want you to call me. That nigga said every hour. And she's like, well, I'm definitely not doing that. But he's like, I want you to call me when you get there. Call me when you leaving. Let me know when you on your way home. Like, I need to hear from you. And I did think that was sweet. That was very sweet. Because if the nigga was just like, all right, go about your business, then you would have felt the way about it. So him being overly concerned is kind of cute. And so he has this chick, Alyssa, who he's been dealing with. Like, they're not dating exclusively. He really, like, maybe they kick it and they have sex and then he goes on about his business. But they are not in a relationship. And her ass is weird. Like, she keeps calling him, trying to get him to come over or come to her house. And he's kind of been egging her because now that Paris is back in his life, like they're not doing anything together, but his focus has kind of been more on her. And so she begs for him to come up to her job to see her. And so he does. And they have sex in the car right outside his job. And Paris calls him and he motions, like how you be like, shh, put your hand up to your lips, telling the person to be quiet. And she had not been making noise. Not noise like too loud in the car, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like a hey, I am hilarious, but like a mm, like whatever. But but as soon as he get that phone call and he said I have to be quiet, and he like hello, and Paris is like, I seen your phone call and I'm just calling you back. You hear a daddy, you hit my spot. It's like, bitch, you ain't been talking this whole motherfucking time. Why do you wait till I pick up the phone to start doing all that? But of course, trifling niggas as they do, he does not stop. He keeps like letting her ride on top of him while he's on the phone with Paris. And of course, Paris hears that because she's on top of the nigga and the phone is right there. So she's like, did you really call me while you fucking somebody? Like, nigga, I mean, like, you really answered the phone. You could have just let the phone ring. Because y'all just could have skipped each other. Like, she missed your call, and by the time she called you back, you could have been busy at the same time. But while you having sex, there was no reason for you to pick up that fucking phone. Like, none whatsoever. And so, when she hangs up, he throws the phone down and continues having sex with her, though. Even though he's so irritated by her, he keeps going. And so, when they're done, she says, who was that on the phone? He like, why? You're not my girl. Like, what did you questioning me for? Don't worry about who on my motherfucking phone. Why did you do that shit? You never tell me to be quiet. But you wasn't moaning like that before he got on the phone either, which is trifling ass. And so she asked him to come over for dinner. And he like, all right, man, yeah, I guess I'll be over there. And she's like, cool, here's a key in case I'm not there. And he asked the question, not like, why would you not be there? Oh, in case I ran to the store, or like I'm doing something else, you could just let yourself in. Y'all not on that level. Like, the man ain't stupid. And he like, like whatever, but he ends up not going that night because he gotta rush to his baby Paris to make up with her. Now, for some reason, Paris, they're at Kamara and Cayenne's house having drinks and just sitting around talking. And she done told everybody, and I don't know why, because when she was in a relationship with Keece and getting to know Keece, Kamara told her, like, these are the DeMayos, their life is like this, whoop whoop, whatever. And also, Kamara can't keep her damn mouth closed. So Keece has been calling Paris, but Paris is ignoring his phone calls, just letting it ring, or just flat out refusing the phone calls, like pressing in, hanging up on that nigga. Then he calls Kamara, and Paris is like, don't answer the phone. Or either you could have answered the phone and said she not there. But she answers the phone straight in Paris's face. Yeah, she's here. And Paris, I'm trying to understand, if you were really that upset, why you didn't leave? I would have left. I'm like, all right, since y'all want to play this game, then I'm gonna be out because I asked you not to tell that nigga that I was here. I don't like at this point. I don't give a fuck about who he is, y'all relationship together. Like, none of that shit. I don't care about none of it. But and then as soon as that nigga walks in the door, he putting on the show. Why the fuck you ain't answering my call? I'm like, all right, Keece, I don't give a fuck how big you is. Like, nigga, I will put your ass down. Stop fucking playing with me. Who is you talking to? Because after a while, it's like, yeah, you think that shit is cute at first, but then it gets annoying because it's like, who is you hollering at? Shit, talk to me how I'm talking to your motherfucking ass. And she just looking at him like, I must didn't hear my phone. Like, what the fuck do you want? And so Kamara wastes no time. Like, so you really called my, and it's like, god damn, girl, I didn't ask you to be my voice. Shut the fuck up. I told you that venting to you as a friend. There's no reason for you to just jump right in and tell him that I told y'all that. Like, I could have just been sitting here having a drink with y'all, and we could have said we was talking about anything else. Like, that shit pissed me off so bad, because it's like, girl, nobody asked you to do that. Why are you inserting yourself in my business? Worry about that cheating ass nigga you got upstairs. Shit. And so, where we at? So, like, they go into the kitchen. Oh, but before that, and Keece was like, man, how do you even know I was having sex on the phone? And she like, nigga, I heard what she said. And he was like, and she said, I heard what she said. What else could you have been doing? And Keece also cuts hair. Like, he has a barbershop, and like a construction business on top of, selling drugs and moving work and all that type of shit. And he's like, I could have been hooking her up with the clippers, but it's like the fact that you didn't hear no clippers in the background, motherfucker. So that's when she gets up and goes into the kitchen to pour herself another drink, because they had been drinking margaritas. And he was like, what's the issue? What, you jealous? Like, why you feel away? And it's like, just, people are petty, because I'm not just putting that off on men, it's women too. That shit is so fucking petty. Like, that something you're doing or something that you did hurt somebody, and it's rooted in jealousy, and you just love it. And he says something, well, not said something, but like, his thought process is he really doesn't have to explain anything to her, because they're not in a relationship. I don't need to be in a relationship with you for you to respect me as a person and not be on the phone with me while you fucking. That's just the bottom line. We do not have to be in a relationship. Like, nigga, you could have waited or called me back after y'all was fucking done. I don't need to hear you having sex with another bitch. And that really ain't got nothing to do with jealousy. So I take back what I just said, even though she was jealous. But I'm just saying, like, say she had been completely over him, like, had no feelings for him or whatever. Like, I don't need to hear you having sex with someone else on the phone. Just respect me as a person. What would make you think I would ever want to hear that shit, whether I wanted you or not? And so she's like, you know what? I'm moving out your house in a couple weeks, so it really don't even matter. And this upsets him for some reason. He's like, why are you in a rush to move out? Because he had got used to her being there again, even though, like, they're sleeping in separate bedrooms and there's not a relationship there. He's used to her being there now. So he's like, you in a rush to leave, and it ain't time for that right now. And what did she say? She was like, don't you think I want to move on and start dating somebody else and find me somebody else too? And this nigga told her, nah, we're not ready for that right now. And she's like, excuse me, we're not ready for that? Can you elaborate? Who the fuck is we? And he tells her, why you still playing? You know that you belong to daddy. Stop playing with me. And she says, nigga, you wish. And so after that, it's weird between them. But he wants Paris back. He like, you know what? I'm tired of playing. We gonna be in this relationship again. You coming back to me, and we gonna do it the right way this time. So they are back together in a relationship. And Rochelle, of course, Rochelle is around now because she plans on going back and forth between New Orleans and Milwaukee for her kids. But Carlos, after all these years, Carlos is finally confessing that he does have feelings for her, like, and he wants to be with her. And so it's like, now it's time for mama to get her groove back. And so she's like, yes, baby, yes. And so when Keece and Paris finally get back together, Keece now wants to get married. And so it's just Keece, Rochelle, and Shonda, who is Paris's mom. That's her name. It was just the four of them together, and the moms were their witnesses as they got married. So now the couple is now married, which I thought was so cute. I was like, yay. even though I still feel like this relationship is some bullshit. In the scheme of, they don't really know too much about each other. Um, but he finally tells her like what he does and all of what he does. So she's like, I'm so glad you're finally open. And I said, that's good. You had to get married for that nigga to open up to you. But it is what it is. And they're still looking for this guy Chase, but there's like no sign of him until, oh my god. And so Paris is pregnant. Paris finds out she's pregnant, and they're so excited because this is their first child together. It's exciting. It's like we're married and now we're about to have a baby. Yay. Until Keece is at the store and he sees Riley's mother. And he speaks to her first, which is so crazy because I can't help. Okay, let me get there. So he speaks to her first, and when she sees him, she's like, "Hey, so what are you and Riley gonna do?" And he's like, "I have no interaction with Riley. I have no reason to." And she's like, "You don't think that you should?" And he's like, "No, why would I?" Come to find out that Riley has a daughter who is 2 years old, and the Riley's mother tells him like, this is your child, so why wouldn't you want to talk to her about this? And he's like, what you just say? And she's looking at him like he crazy. And it's just like, so you didn't. He's like, man, stop playing with me. Ain't no way that that's my daughter. And she's like, yes it is, and I'm so sorry for telling you like this. But even with the flow of conversation and how it was going, you could tell that Keece had no idea. He's like, I have no ties to her. I have no reason to talk to her. Like, what you talking about? And so he finds out that there's a possibility that he could have a daughter. So he has to, wait, nope. He goes to see Riley first at her hair salon because Riley owns a hair shop. He goes to see her. He's smacking her around because it's like, bitch, why the fuck would you hold my daughter from me? Why would you not tell me that I have a daughter? Like, in the last 2 years, you haven't said one fucking word about the possibility of me having a daughter. Like, what type of games are you on? And so she's crying, doing all this apologizing, and I'm sorry, but after that, like, second slap, because he was Ike Turner and her around that goddamn office. I wouldn't have been apologized. But this is where she has to admit that she cheated on him around the time that he was going to jail or had been in jail. It's just like, it was right around that time. So, oh no, she had the baby 6 months into his sentencing. So, and she wasn't sure if the baby was his or the guy that she slept with or cheated with. So she wanted to wait and find out, like, she wanted to test the guy that she cheated with first, but she couldn't find this man, don't know where he had, no ties to him whatsoever. So until she was sure, she wasn't going to say anything to him. So she fuming on the inside, like, can't wait to see her mama because her mama blew up her spot. And she never wanted Keece to know that she cheated on him. And I'm just like, but you used to live with that man. You had all types of DNA. I'm pretty sure he gave you money. Like, you could have paid to swab both of them to see if that's his baby or not. But even then, it's like, and people probably not going to agree with me, but let's keep it this plain and simple. If you were that scared and you wasn't sure who the baby belonged to, you could have got an abortion. But you literally hid this child for 2 years. And he's like, I was just at her house. I ain't seen no baby shit, no nothing like that. And that's because she doesn't even have custody of the little girl. Her parents have custody of the girl. They just let her, like, basically she can come see her whenever she wants, but she doesn't have custody of her because the mama said at one point Riley was wilding out in these streets and they had to take over, otherwise she was gonna lose the little girl. But they let her see her whenever she wants. So Keece like, man, set up the DNA appointment and I'll be there, but I ain't got shit else to say to your trifling ass because what the fuck? Like, why would you do this? And I want him because I just don't get it. I'm like, because you knew that you didn't have ties to that other nigga. You couldn't find him nowhere. So you knew that you wasn't going to see him. So you was just letting this shit ride out, hoping that they never ran into each other. But it's like, y'all live in the same city. You didn't think at one point you was going to be taking your daughter out, or, as she grew older, there's a possibility she might look like this man. You ain't think about none of that. You just, oh, I ain't gonna say nothing. And really, I don't even think Riley cared because it's like, girl, you don't even have custody of your child. You're really not trying to get custody back. You go see her like whenever you feel like dropping by, and then you just leave. And so they go do the DNA testing. He really don't interact with Riley or the little girl. Like, he just sit there on his phone, not saying too much or nothing. And they go get swabbed, and then that's it. But right before he leaves, because Riley's trying to say something to him, and the little girl says bye to him, and I think like a week later, or however long it takes to get DNA test results, he and Paris go together to go pick them up, and he is the baby's father. So now, Riley's mother is like, okay, so we found out that you are the father. Please take your child. Like, you can spend all the time you want with her. And so, now he has her all the time because it's just like, I'm not no deadbeat motherfucker. If I had known that this was my baby, we would have been worked something out. Ain't no way I would have missed 2 years of her life. And I get why he's upset because it's like her name is, was it Kaya or Kyra? I think it's Kyra. She don't know him. She don't know nothing about him. So at first, she's apprehensive, which you can understand because it's like a child has a routine. There are people that they're used to seeing, things they're used to doing. So then you just thrust her into this new house with these people that she does not know. Baby girl looking around like, who the fuck is y'all? And what the fuck is going on? Um, but she was a very smart little young lady because when he was cussing, she said, "Shh, no, don't say that." I said, "Yes, mama, get them together. No cussing in front of the children." Um, and so, but then as he spends more time with her, here comes Riley yet again. Can you please bring her up to the shop to see me? And he like, no, I'm trying to catch up on lost time with her. Why don't you wait till the weekend when your parents have her? And Riley got more excuses than, like, I ain't even got a good example, but that bitch got too many excuses. Like, she can't see her during the week because Keece is like, I refuse. Like, this is my time with her, so why don't you see her on the weekend? So she claims to be busy. Friday and Saturdays are her busiest days, which I'm pretty sure is true at a hair salon. Like, ain't nobody knocking that. But he's like, okay, so what about Sunday? Well, Sunday is my time to catch up on my sleep that I've missed during the week. And he like, man, if you don't get the fuck off my phone with this boo-boo shit. And she's like, I'm going back to the courts and I'm going to get custody of my daughter because you're not going to dictate when I can see her. And he like, all right, you go do that. Like, girl, you know who they are. They money real, real long. I'm pretty sure they got a judge or two or some lawyer. Like, they got people in their pockets. And you already don't have custody of her now. So it's just like, okay, yeah, go fight your parents for custody. But as soon as you done fighting them, then you got to fight me. And it's going to come out that you did not tell me about her. You hid her from me. And you still don't see her now. Even with all this access to her, it's like, girl, you a parent when you feel like being a parent. So all this hooping and hollering you doing, you really ain't doing too much of nothing. And you once again proving that you a shady bitch. So anyway, he don't pay her no never mind, because it's like, girl, you ain't gonna do nothing. Um, but Paris is starting to feel a little neglected, because it's like, nigga, I don't ever see you. You not making it to none of my doctor's appointment for our child as well. But she's very nice to the young baby. She's not taking her frustrations out on her at all. But we already know how I feel about outside children. But technically this isn't outside children, because he did not know about her, and it's like they found out together that he had a child. So this ain't something that he cheated on her and had a baby or something like that. But also, oh, I forgot. Damn, how could I forget this? So when they was out at the strip club one night, um, the guys had went out, and then the ladies showed up, because Kamara wanted to go, saying, let's go see what the men are into, and hopefully my man ain't getting into no mess, aka some pussy. And I'm like, that relationship should have been done. It's just like, y'all together for fucking what, fam? Y'all can have a schedule with the kid. I think it was, yeah, they had their first daughter. Mila or was it Milan? She had one daughter, and I think she was pregnant with the other one. It's like, girl, let it go, because your relationship is toxic as hell. Like, that shit was crazy. And ain't no way I'm running behind a nigga to make sure he ain't cheating. Like, nah, boo, you can do you. Um, she sees Chase, or who she thinks to be Chase, but Chase is actually, his name is CP, and he's actually a barber at one of Keece's shops. So they find, well, Keece ran over there and like beat that nigga's ass. And because they saw each other and they figured out who he was, CP goes on the run. And he's like, man, they know who I am, they know what I'm doing. I gotta lay low. So then when he lays low, excuse me, um, his cousin basically hype his head up, saying, we can kidnap that bitch, hold her for ransom. And it's just like, how did you think that was gonna work out with how badly he whooped Chase's ass for assaulting Paris? It's like, y'all think y'all gonna touch her again. But it was all part of the plan, because he was like, he knew that nigga was gonna try to get at Paris again. And he had her car sitting outside of her workplace. Well, it was her old car anyway, because Keece had upgraded her to a Range Rover, brought her a few gifts. And they got that nigga. They shot the cousin like inside the office, but they got Chase. They hung that nigga. Tied a rope around his neck and just hung him. Um, and even like as he was dying, he went out like a bitch, gonna say, "Man, this was all my cousin's fault. I had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to see her face to face and apologize to her." It's like, so why wouldn't you go inside? Why are you waiting? Excuse me, outside in the car for her to come out by herself? Because they had set it up nice. Like Paris even put on Facebook, working late tonight. So they thinking she the only one in there, just waiting for her to walk out. Um, So yeah, now he's dead and gone. And what else happened? I forgot. Why am I drawing a blank? So it's like, after they got CP, she's pregnant. Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. What else happens in this story? So Rochelle and, what was I gonna call that man, Carlton? Carlos get married, because they like, it's time to stop playing games. And the kids felt a little way about mostly Cayenne, because it's like, y'all claim that nothing happened between y'all, and now y'all getting married all these years later. But it's like, two things could be true at once. So like, yeah, they never got together. And but now, after all these years of being around each other, yeah, feelings developed now. So it's like, yeah, now we're married. Oh, child, how could I forget? So Riley, because she was feeling pissed that Keece would not let her see the little baby, she goes over to her mama house and lies and says Keece wanted her to drop off some of the babies, I think eczema medicine, and he gave her the address, but she spilled something on it, so will she give her the address? And her mom sits up with no problem and hands it to her. I'm like, but your daughter's a liar. Why would you hand this over to him? And I'm pretty sure that Keece made it sure, made it plain, like, I don't want your daughter knowing where I live. But she hands the address over with no problem. And Riley goes over there, like, pounding on the door, thinking she big and bad. And she attacks Paris while she's pregnant. Like, she pushed her down on the ground. But, of course, I was going to say, thankfully, she fell backwards instead of forward. She was pulling Paris's hair. She bit down on her arm. It's like, girl, what the fuck is your problem? So, and she lays low for like a week. She wasn't going to work. No, none of that. But when she finally do go back to work, her ass get jumped because Keece had a few of the homegirls from the hood beat her ass and take her purse to make it look like a robbery. Because it's like, bitch, you ain't just gonna attack my wife and all this type of shit. So the story ends because I forgot, Dom and Celine, of course, got a divorce. Won't have anything to do with each other. And Keece is going to work at Keece's tattoo shop because Keece also does tattoos and he's very talented at that. So now he got a tattoo shop, a barbershop. Because I was gonna say hair salon. He has a barbershop. And they have the construction on top of them. Like, my man, oof, he ain't never home. And once again, it's one little thing. I don't know why I love it because it's so ratchet. While she's like 6 months pregnant, I believe, like, she's bored. Keece is asleep and baby girl is asleep as well. And it's like 1:30 in the morning. And she's restless. So she is in a group text with Kamara and Amy and says, let's sneak out and go to Walmart. And I'm just like, this is my type of shit. I love going to Walmart. I could be in Walmart forever. I love that store. I fucking hate Target. I ain't gonna lie to you. Target is just not the girl that people make her out to be. Ain't nothing classy, like, spectacular about that store. People just have to find anything to make themselves feel elite over somebody else. But Target is just not that girl. Walmart is my store. So they sneak out to Walmart. Now, Amy gets a call from Big. And he like, man, where the fuck you at? Why you ain't at home? And she's explaining, like, I'm at Walmart. And he like, man, you ain't at no goddamn Walmart. You ain't at no Walmart at 2:00 in the morning. And she's like, yes, I am. I'm with Kamara and Paris. And so she holds out her phone like, Kamara, say something, please. So she's like, hey, Big. And when she gets back on the phone, like, he done calmed down. But he like, man, get your ass in the goddamn house. And she's like, all right, cool, whatever. And hangs up the phone. But she's smirking because she's like, this nigga said he wasn't coming over here tonight. He said he was going home. Why he all in my damn business? And Amy's like, he also said that he telling on y'all. And Kamara and Paris like bust out laughing. But then Paris' phone started ringing. Kamara ain't worried because she said Cayenne sleep like he did, so he wasn't gonna hear that phone, answer that phone, or nothing like that. So she wasn't too much worried about it. But of course, Keece, being a big bad wolf that he is, as soon as she hop on the phone, he doing all this hop. Man, where the fuck you at? Why you being sneaky? I'm here asleep and you sneaking out to the motherfucking store. Man, get your ass home. You got 30 minutes. And it's just like, oh my God, nigga. Okay, relax. Like, damn. Nigga forever man. Like, calm your ass down. So when she gets in the house, once again, he like roughing her up. Like, have you lost your goddamn mind? The next time you do some shit like this, I'm gonna beat your ass and don't you ever leave out the house like this again. And it's just like, my God, nigga. And it's just like, nigga, it's a simple trip to Walmart. But okay. So when she goes upstairs, now he giving her the silent treatment. He don't want to talk to her, all that type of shit. So she gets her pregnancy pillow. She gets up and leaves. She's like, man, I ain't got time for this. He like, where you going? Don't fucking work. You just told me to leave you alone, right? You just told me to get the hell on, or some shit like that. You just said that's exactly where I'm going. So she goes to another room and he follows her like, man, come on, come back to the room. And it's like, no, because somehow, yet again, you have managed to flip some shit on me to make it seem like you were just done also wrong. Get your motherfucking ass away from me. But they end up having sex and making up and whoop de whoop because that's all they do. Um, and now Keece has full custody of the baby girl, and they have a baby girl, who they named Parker. I'm sorry, but it was also funny because he was like moving around for a few days, not really being at home. And Paris is upset about that, as she always is, because the nigga is never home. Um, and she says, you know, you're missing out on parts of her life. He like, man, she 2 days old, my nigga. Really like. And she really didn't have nothing to say about that, but I thought that shit was funny. I said, girl, just tell your nigga that you want him home more and let that be that. Like, all this other foolishness, don't do it. Ooh, but I forgot. At one point when she was pregnant, um, he left and went to Houston, like with his brothers, and there's a rapper that they know that they're friends with. So they were in Houston at a strip club, and he told her that it like he was doing some type of business shit, like it wasn't nothing like that. But on the blogs, it was a picture of him with a stripper in his lap, and she called him and cussed him the fuck out. Like, so you really, this what you doing? You really gonna leave here lying to me, telling me that you doing some other shit when you at a strip club trying to have fun? And she like, all right, cool. When you get here, I won't be back. So then this nigga races home, but it's just like, my nigga, all you had to do was say that you was going out with your brothers or whatever, and let that be that. But the quote unquote reason they had to leave and go to a whole nother state, um, was because Cayenne was getting tired of Kamara always bringing up the fact that they were cheating. So they got away and let him relieve some stress. So I'm just like, whatever, whatever. But the story ends happily ever after. Um, I've because I already said that Rochelle and Carlos got married, but that's how the book ends. Actually, they got engaged, and the book ends with them getting married and having their happily ever after. All right, my people, I have been talking long enough. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to see you back next week. Peace and blessings.